Hello, hello. Welcome back to No Me Callo. I won't stay quiet. I'm your host, Lomelin. And here, we're not here to pretend we're perfect. We're not here to act like we never overthink anything or like we've never checked someone's story 10 times, even though we swear we don't care. Here, we come to be honest. And today, we're getting into the third episode of this May series, and it's called Weird Habits Nobody Says Out Loud. And honestly, I feel like this episode is probably going to make a lot of people feel extremely called out because everyone has weird habits. Everyone. Silent habits, emotional habits, mental habits, things we do automatically without even knowing exactly when they started. And isn't that crazy to think about? Because nobody taught us these things. Nobody sat us down one day and said, okay, when you start liking someone, you're going to check if they viewed your story 5 times. Nobody. One day it just started happening, and now it's part of our emotional routine. And I feel like a lot of us developed extremely specific behaviors, like checking your phone, even though you literally checked it 8 seconds ago, opening Instagram without even realizing it, practicing imaginary conversations while you're in the shower, writing a message, reading it 20 times, changing words, deleting it, rewriting it, just to end up saying, haha, don't worry about it. And the worst part, we think we're the only ones doing it. And why do we think that? Because everybody acts so chill. Everyone acts like, oh no, I don't even think about that stuff. Yes, you do. Everybody overthinks. Some people just hide it better. And I'm not here to judge you because honestly, I do so many of these things too. I've checked stories way too fast. I've stalked profiles. I've opened messages, replied in my head, and then never actually answered them. And I feel like when we start talking about these things, something automatically changes. Because suddenly you stop feeling, what's wrong with me? And you start feeling, okay, wait, we're all kind of the same. And honestly, I think that's something we desperately need right now, to feel less alone. Because we live in a time where everybody seems emotionally in control online. Everybody seems relaxed. Everybody seems confident. Everybody seems busy living these perfect lives. But nobody posts that part where they've spent, 40 minutes thinking about how to reply to one text message. Nobody posts the part where they reread an old conversation just to emotionally hurt themselves for free. Nobody posts that part where they unlock their phone out of pure reflex without even knowing what they want to look at. And that's what makes a lot of us think we're weird. But we're not. We're human. And honestly, being human right now is very weird because we constantly have access to other people's lives. We can now know what they're doing, where they are, who they're with, what they're listening to, what they're eating, what they're feeling, or at least what they pretend to feel. And honestly, the human brain was not built to handle this much emotional information all the time. Before, you miss someone and that was it. Now you miss someone while also seeing their stories, their likes, their reposts, their playlists, their profile picture changes. I mean, how are we not supposed to overthink? And I honestly think a lot of our weird habits come from exactly that. Trying to understand things that were never explained. Trying to feel control. Try to feel connection. Trying to feel important to someone, even just a little bit. And if we're being honest, a lot of the time we do extreme things emotionally just because we want to feel something. Even when it makes no sense, even when we know it's hurting us. Because let's be honest for a second. How many times have you checked something knowing perfectly that it was going to hurt your feelings? Oof, more than once, right? We've all gone onto profiles we shouldn't have looked at. We've all read old conversations. We've all searched for hidden meanings that probably weren't even there. We've all replayed scenarios in our heads 1,000 times. But even though those habits are weird, they also say so much about us, about our insecurities, about our wounds, about our need to be seen, about the fear of not mattering to someone, about the times we pretended not to care when we actually cared a lot. Because that's the other thing. God, why are we so good at pretending nothing affects us? A lot of us turned acting unbothered into a survival mechanism. Now everybody wants to seem cold. Everybody wants to seem impossible to hurt. Everybody wants to seem emotionally unavailable. But deep down, everybody's checking who viewed the story. Everybody. And that's exactly what I want from this episode. I want us to laugh a little at the things we do. I want us to feel understood. And I want us to lower our guard for at least the time that we're together today. And I want us to understand something important. You're not the only weird person here. I can promise you that while you're listening to this, there's somebody else doing the exact same thing you do in silence. So get ready because today we're absolutely exposing ourselves emotionally together. And honestly, this episode is probably gonna attack all of us a little bit, but it's okay. So you already know what to do. Get comfortable, grab your coffee, your cafecito, your glass of wine, or a cold beer, and get ready to cheese me out with me. Okay, let's start with this. Who hasn't checked to view their story right after posting it? Seriously, be honest. Because you post a story and automatically you open Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, and you're like, okay, let me see. Then you leave, you come back again, and then you're like, okay, not yet. And then 5 minutes later, you're like, what about now? And then that person finally views it, and you act like it doesn't matter. But obviously, it matters, because if it didn't matter, you wouldn't have kept checking. And it's honestly so funny how we pretend to be unbothered on social media. Everybody wants to seem so chill, unbothered, like, oh, I don't even pay attention to that stuff. Lies. Yes, we do, especially when it's about a specific person. Because there are definitely stories we post hoping one specific person sees them, even if we never admit it. And then you start analyzing everything. Why did they watch the first story but not the second one? Why did it take them so long? Why did they watch it so fast? Why don't they watch them like they used to? And suddenly a 15-second story turns into a full psychological analysis. And honestly, social media made us way too aware of attention. Now everything has meaning. Everything gets interpreted. Everything gets analyzed. Before, people just existed. Now people exist while also monitoring who's watching them exist. And that's actually kind of intense when you really think about it, right? Now let's talk about those little investigations we sometimes do like we're full-on detectives. I call it stalking, because nobody ever enters a profile just for a quick look. That doesn't exist. You go in out of curiosity and somehow end up investigating entire generations. You've seen pictures from 2018, you know who their ex was, you know where they vacation in 2021, you've read suspicious comments, you've analyzed captions, and it all started with, I'm just gonna take a quick look. And the most terrifying moment in modern life is accidentally liking an old photo. Like, no, that moment literally freezes your entire body. Your heart is pounding at 100 miles per hour, like, oh no, I messed up. Your soul is like, yeah, we're done for. And then suddenly you start making extreme decisions like, should I block them? Should I deactivate my account? What if I just move to another country? Because it feels that serious. And honestly, it's crazy how social media managed to make us feel shame for just looking. Because I know most people, if not all people, stalk. All of us. The difference is just who admits it. But also stalking usually comes from something deeper. We're not always looking for information. Sometimes we're looking for comfort. We're looking to compare. We're looking to understand. We're looking for signs. We're looking for answers nobody directly gave us. And there's where social media gets dangerous, because you start building entire stories out of tiny pieces of information. A song and a story, and suddenly you think it's about you. A picture with someone, and you create a whole narrative. And it probably means nothing at all. But the brain loves filling in the blanks. Now we get into something way too personal. Writing a message and deleting it 20 times. How many conversations have never existed just because we were too scared to send them? Because you write something honest like, hey, honestly, that kind of hurt. And then you delete it. No, wait, too intense. Then you try something casual. LOL, it's all good. Delete again. Nope, it's too cold. And there you are, negotiating with yourself for 40 minutes over a 2-line message. And the worst part is when you finally send something and immediately you wish you could disappear. Doesn't it ever happen to you that you send a text and then you literally put your phone face down like that somehow erases the anxiety? Because I do. Because we want connection, but we're also scared. We want honesty, but without feeling vulnerable. And I feel like we're constantly editing ourselves emotionally, thinking, does this sound too needy, too intense, too dry, too emotional? And honestly, it's exhausting, because before, conversations just happen. Now they are produced. We overthink how to sound. And I think a lot of us have stopped speaking naturally because we're scared of how we're going to be perceived. And the overthinking, like I said it in the previous episode, we really have a talent for suffering over imaginary scenarios. A message changes tone slightly, and suddenly we feel like everything is wrong. Somebody takes a little too long to reply, and automatically, they don't care about me anymore. And most of the time, that person was probably just driving. But no, our brain never chooses a peaceful explanation. It always goes for abandonment, drama, pain, and something that really amazes me is how we can create real emotions based on situations that never even happened. That's intense because physically your body is feeling real anxiety over a story your mind completely made up. And honestly, I think a lot of us are mentally exhausted because we overthink everything. We analyze tones, pauses, messages, stories, likes, energy, words, silence, literally everything. And at some point, the brain never fully rests. And that's honestly kind of sad because sometimes we don't even enjoy moments as they're happening because we're too busy analyzing them while they're happening. And let's not forget that silent addiction many of us have, checking the phone for no reason. Because you know there are no notifications, but you still unlock it anyway. Instagram, close. TikTok, close. Messages, close. Then you open up Instagram again. And sometimes we don't even know what we're looking for. We're just looking for stimulation because silence starts to feel weird now. We wait in line and what do? We grab our phone. We're in the elevator, we grab our phone. We're eating, we grab the phone. Bathroom, we use the phone. And honestly, I think a lot of us use our phones to escape ourselves. Because when there's no distraction, thoughts show up. And that's scary for a lot of people. So instead, what do? You're scrolling, and you're scrolling. Even when you're not even enjoying what you're seeing anymore. And it's kind of wild that so many people today don't even know how to rest without stimulation anymore. And who hasn't gone back and read old conversations? Because you tell yourself, I'm just gonna look for something real quick. Lies. You end up reading messages from years ago. And it's honestly so strange how words can hold emotions. You read something, and instantly you remember exactly how you felt in that moment. And sometimes you don't even miss that person. You miss the version of yourself that existed there. And that hits hard because conversations are basically emotional time capsules. Versions of us that don't exist anymore. Relationships that are already over and moments that will never happen the same way again. And still we go back and read them anyway. And I don't know if it's nostalgia or pain or just a desire to feel something again. And lastly, please tell me I'm not the only one who practices imaginary conversations, because I know a lot of us do this. You literally win fake arguments in the shower, you rehearse interviews, you rehearse fights, you rehearse apologies and reconciliations. And in your head, you say everything perfectly. In your mind, you're a philosopher, a poet, a therapist. And then in real life, you're like, haha, yeah. And honestly, I think we do this because we want control. We want to prepare ourselves so we don't get hurt. Because being vulnerable is scary, really scary. And honestly, I think the real conclusion of this entire episode is this. We all do weird things, all of us. We all have silent habits we will never really easily admit out loud in front of other people. We all have thoughts that sometimes we don't even fully understand ourselves. We all do small things that seem insignificant, but actually say so much about how we feel inside. We all look for attention sometimes. We all want to feel seen. We all want to feel like someone is thinking about us, even just a little. We all want to feel like we matter. And I feel like we often act like that's something wrong. Like needing affection, validation, attention, or connection makes us weak. But no, that's what makes us human. Because a big part of these weird habits come from that. From wanting connection, from wanting safety, from wanting to feel chosen, remembered, important to someone, even if we never say it directly. And yes, we all overthink, all of us. We've all overanalyzed a short reply. We've all felt anxiety over a simple message. We've all checked stories looking for something specific. We've all stalked profiles even though we said, oh no, I don't even care. Yeah, we do care. And it's okay to admit that. Because social media made us believe that everyone should look emotionally perfect all the time. Like everyone is super confident. Like no one doubts themselves. Like no one feels anxious. Like no one cries over small things. Like no one rereads old conversations at 2 a.m. Like no one wants to send a message and disappear right after sending it. Lies. Everyone is laying in bed overthinking. Everyone is imagining fictional scenarios before falling asleep. Everyone is checking their phone even when there are no notifications. Everyone is trying to look calm while their mind is running 1,000 miles per hour. And we're all a little confused. And honestly, there's something really beautiful about realizing that. It's beautiful knowing that we're not the only ones trying to understand ourselves while going through all of this. Because sometimes we think something is wrong with us just because we feel too much, just because we think too much, just because certain things matter to us even when we act like they don't. But no, I think a lot of people are way more sensitive, more anxious, and more emotional than they appear. We just learn how to hide it well. And it must be exhausting for so many people to constantly act like nothing affects them. Because the truth is, things do affect us. We do care who views our stories. We do care when someone changes. We do care when we feel distance. We do care about feeling loved. And we should not feel ashamed of that. Because at the end of the day, we're all looking for the same thing. Even if we express it differently: connection, understanding, to feel accompanied, to feel enough. And as always, I want to recommend a book to you guys, and the book is called The Book of Moods by Lauren Martin. And this book talks about human emotions from anxiety, overthinking, insecurities, and those mental patterns we often live through in silence, thinking we're the only ones going through them. Lauren Martin basically explores how our emotions are constantly changing, how we try to understand ourselves, and how so often we end up trapped inside our own thoughts. And honestly, this episode is literally about silent emotional habits: overchecking things, overthinking everything, analyzing everything, wanting connection but also being scared of it. And I feel like this book really touches that very human part of us that we usually try to hide. And it also talks about the modern anxiety and how our mind can become our safest place, but also our most exhausting one. And I feel like that connects so much with a lot of us because honestly, I think many of us are mentally tired, thinking too much, feeling too much, analyzing too much, and then acting like nothing affects us. And one thing I really love about this book is that it doesn't make you feel bad for having intense emotions. Instead, it makes you feel understood, like someone finally put into words things you never knew how to explain about yourself. Talking about those small weird things that so many people probably do, but almost nobody admits out loud. So I definitely recommend it to you guys. Because during this time, we stop performing. During this time, we stop pretending that we are perfectly rational and emotionally put together all the time. And we simply admit, okay, yeah, I do weird things too. And honestly, there is something very human and very beautiful about that. Because when we finally talk about these things, they stop feeling so heavy. They stop feeling like secrets. And they start feeling like something shared, like, wait, you do that too? And I think that feeling of being understood is something we need a lot more right now. So if you listen to this episode and at any point you thought, okay, wow, yeah, I literally do all of that, I want you to know something. You are not weird. You are not alone. You're not the only person who overthinks. You're not the only one who checks stories. You're not the only one who deletes messages before sending them. And you're not the only one who sometimes acts like they don't care when deep down they actually care a lot. We are many, way more than we think. And honestly, maybe, yeah, we're a little broken, a little confused, a little emotionally tired, but at least we have each other in the face that we get it. And there's something really beautiful about feeling accompanied, even in things like this. In the description of this episode, you'll find the Amazon link with the full list of books mentioned in No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet from the very first episode all the way to today. And don't forget that every Friday there's a new episode waiting for you. The last episode of this series is called Small Decisions That Change Everything. So many times we think life changes because of huge moments, big decisions, big announcements, big opportunities, big losses. But honestly, life often changes because of really small things. Things that in the moment seemed completely insignificant. Maybe replying to the message, going to that place, staying one more hour, answering a call, saying yes when you normally would have said no, or worse, staying when deep down you already knew you should have left. And it's crazy to think that there are entire versions of our lives that were born from 5-second decisions. Because there are people you met just because one day you decided to go out even when you didn't feel like it. There are pains that started because you replied to a message. There are opportunities that showed up because you said, well, why not? And there are also wounds that maybe could have been avoided if we had listened to that intuition saying, don't stay there. And that's exactly what I want to talk about in this final episode. Those small moments, they seem normal, but ended up changing everything. Because I feel like we all have at least one small decision that we still remember and think, wow, if that hadn't happened, my life would have been completely different. And as my dad always says, the what ifs don't exist. Life changes fast, with messages, with people, with timing, with impulsive decisions, with small things that didn't even seem important at the time. So don't miss this final episode of this series because I feel like a lot of you are going to sit with it long after it ends. So yeah, don't miss it. And before ending today's episode, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank all the moms who participated in this month's giveaway. And honestly, doing this giveaway was something really special for me because it came from the heart, from the love that moms carry every single day, even when nobody sees everything they do in silence. Reading your messages, seeing your comments, seeing how you share the episode with your moms, daughters, friends, it genuinely made me feel so happy and so grateful. So thank you for opening your hearts. Thank you for listening. Thank you for connecting with this space and making it feel so human and so beautiful. And of course, congratulations to my two winners, Ana Castillo and Hilario Saavedra 2764. Congratulations from the bottom of my heart, and I hope you enjoy your gift so much. This giveaway was a way to celebrate moms, to recognize them, to remind them that they matter, that they are seen, and that even when they carry so much in silence, they deserve love in return. Because moms feel so deeply, they worry so deeply. They give so much of themselves, often without expecting anything back. And this giveaway was just a small way of saying thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for loving so deeply. Thank you for still showing up even on your hardest days. And thank you as well to everyone else who participated, listened, and shared a piece of their heart with me this month. Truly, thank you for making this podcast feel like a community, not just a microphone talking alone. So thank you so much. You were listening to No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet. I'm your host, Jessica Lomelin. Until next time.